Good morning, good afternoon, happy Friday. Thanks so much for tuning in to Tisha Talks live at 10:45. I hope everyone had a great week and a happy Valentine's Day. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people before we get this show started. You're in for such a treat, though. I have Phylecia Jones in the green room, and we're going to be talking about how to find your genius zone. So, finding and focusing on your genius zone. This woman is incredible, and I'll tell you a little bit about her story in just a bit. But before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsor, Gateway Bank. Gateway Bank is out here in Arizona, and they're a community bank. They do so many things for the community. Plus, they also sponsor my Social Connect Phoenix. Some of you in Phoenix have gone to that event before. It is my networking event. It's a place where you don't bring business cards. You get to hang out with some cool people, some cool entrepreneurs and business professionals, and really cultivate connections that way. Also, I want to share with you that I have an All right. Okay. Well, thanks so much. I caught Phylecia dancing a little bit back there. So maybe you were dancing. You're maybe having a little happy Friday dance. Well, I'm so happy that you are here. If you're tuning in off of Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, welcome to the show. Tisha Talks Live is a weekly show I do every single Friday, unless I'm traveling. And Phylecia and I are going to talk a lot about travel today. But it's a show that I love to use it as a learning tool, honestly, because I love to bring in guests from all over the world, introduce them to you. These are a lot of times entrepreneurs, authors, business professionals who have so much value and insight to share. So I look at it as this is Tisha's learning time, and then I get to share that with you too. So today you're in for a treat. Phylecia Jones, she is the founder and a lead researcher at I Find You Clothes. This gal was telling me she was a Navy scientist on our call. Like, she's got such an incredible background. And if that weren't enough, she and her husband are traveling RV lifestyling it, and they are in Panama City Beach, Florida right now. So this girl has just so many great plans. But we're going to talk a lot about her company, I Find You Clothes, how she created that. That really is part of the genius zone that we're talking about, of things that she created. So Phylecia, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to Tisha Talks Live.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, your opening is very, I don't know, I felt like dancing.
Most people do. I know I like to dance when I see
Yeah.
that come up. I'm like, yeah, this is so fun. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know that you and your hubby are traveling right now and you're stationed. And, so guys, I just have to tell you that when Phylecia and I booked this call, she's like, I'm not really sure where I'll be. Maybe I'll be in the RV. Maybe I might be on a sailboat. I don't know yet. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've never gotten such a crazy answer like that. Like
I
I'm
know.
so excited because you guys know I have travel. Like I love to travel. I want to travel. We actually have that same goal in mind, Phylecia, of doing the RV life with the kiddos. And I'm like, oh, now I know my go-to. Now I know who I get to talk to about all this stuff and who can give me all the tips and tricks. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time this morning and being here.
Oh, this is gonna be fun because I feel like we could either talk about travel, RV life, business, all kinds of things. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
And I just want to say there's so many fun people that are joining us right now. Louis Bischoff, she's joining us off of LinkedIn saying, hi, all, happy Friday. Bruce Carnahan, yes, he's saying, yes, Global University of Learning. Tisha Marie Pelletier, of course, those are all fun things. I just want to make sure that I'm saying hi to everybody that's tuning in live. Oh, Mr. Groovy out of LA. Okay, I'm dancing now. All good. Yes, that's it. Like, hey, dance party every single Friday. You know where to find it. All right, guys. Well, thank you again. And I want to just start off with introduce yourself for us, Phylecia. Like you are the founder of I Find You Clothes, and tell us a little bit about what that is. I know I'm part of it because as a speaker, I'm always looking for opportunities, but go ahead and share with our audience what it is. How'd you start it?
Well, I say my day job is I research and find speaking opportunities for people who want to get on stage. And this started because when I was a coach and starting my business, my business coach told me you should go out and speak. And of course, I was like, why do I have to talk to people? Uh, but you know what? The one thing she was right. It absolutely worked. And it took some years to figure out how to make this really work. And the way I Find You Clothes came about is that on the secret side, on the back side, people always came to me and like, Phylecia, how did you find all these gigs? I'm like, there's the internet, like, duh, like it's not hard. And I
Ah,
had a friend who told me like the internet doesn't work for me. And I was like, well, you have a broken internet. I don't know what to do. Um, so basically it was kind of always there. I first started off as talking to people about budgeting, and my thing is you need a budget, you don't need speaking gigs. And I had a friend who basically called me out one time, and I took a walkabout for my 40th birthday in London, and I was there for a week, and I was there for a speaking gig. But a few days before, I took some time just to hang out. It was my birthday, and and I was just walking. You know how you just walk around and like, you know what? People keep asking me about this, and I said, screw it, I'm gonna try it. And that's kind of how it all started, and it has gone very, very well, surprisingly
yes.
to me.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because I was just on a call and he might be joining us too, watching in the comments. But Royce, my good friend Royce, who's a loyal fan of the show,
Mhm.
he and I were talking about this and he's like, can I run an idea past you? And he ran his idea past me and he's like, what do you think? I'm like, you're never going to know unless you get it started. So
Yeah,
just you, Phylecia, people kept coming to you. They kept asking you, and you're like, I'm doing this. Why can't I do this for myself and help other people in the process? So it's such a beautiful thing when that unfolds, when you're like, I need it. And I'm also going to
yeah.
you because you need it as much as I do.
And but you fight it. That's the weird part about
Right.
it. It's like, when you start off in business, you have your coaches and you're like, you go on this one path, you want this $1 million business, you want all of this. And then we're this other thing, because that's the other secret thing with your coaches and things like, what is it that people always ask you for? And it's like, well, people keep asking me for this. And it's like, that wasn't part of the plan. And like I said, during that walkabout in London, I was like, you know what? If they keep asking, I'm gonna go with it. And I started off, I literally got an idea from a friend over there, and I wrote letters to people I knew in my circle because I hadn't fully launched it yet. I wrote letters, I put a piece of chocolate in it, and I said, here's me. This is what I've been able to do on stage. Here's how I research. Do you know anyone that could use this service? And surprisingly enough, I actually got 3 people that jumped on, and that helped me start figuring out how to like really craft this. And so that took about a year. And then eventually it crafted into I Find You Clothes, where it is a membership, it's a subscription where I send out the speaking opportunities to people, and it's up to you to go close them. So that's kind of how it worked, and that's where it touched into my genius zone of just being able to find stuff. Because yeah, that's from my time being with the Navy. I was a computer scientist and I just knew how to find things. I was really good at that. And so that was just a slow step into like getting into my genius zone. And sometimes you do fight it, because I did fight it like crazy. But eventually I got there.
Until every single sign is pointing at you, like, okay, I gotcha. I'm going to do this now. Right. But you're right. So many of us are like, why? Why me? Like, why do I need to
Yeah.
do this? But it's clearly calling your name. And you're like, all right, okay,
Oh,
I
and you're
give
like,
in. I'll do it.
no.
I'll do it. I'll
Yep.
do it. Like, we have Michelle on as well. She's joining us off of Facebook. Good morning, Michelle. Thanks for being here. And same thing. Like, she's been a part of my journey for so long. And I had kids. I was a mom, entrepreneur. I was like, I'm trying to find my people. I'm trying to find my tribe. I want to be around really strong women that are
Mhm.
also in the same boat. And I swear, I was like, somebody else will do it. Somebody else will do it.
Yep.
Nobody would do it, Phylecia. And I was like, well, frick, I guess I'm going to do it. I guess I'm going to create it. I'm going to just go all in. And I've met some incredible people like that. But you're right. Like, we are so resistant to the idea because we're like, somebody else has got that. And they're like, nope, you've got that. You
Oh, doesn't it? It
got
drives
that.
you crazy too, because it really is like you're just walking down the street and you're like, fine, I'll do it, you know?
You're just talking to yourself. You like
Yeah.
always have those conversations in your head. I want to say, yes, Louis saying, love that. People wanted it. And Phylecia Jones, you brought it forward. Yeah, Louis is a good friend of mine. She's also an accountability partner with me. And we were talking about getting on more stages. And for people who are trying to get on stages, I know one of the things you say, and you said it earlier, if you're a business owner, get on stages,
Yes,
get your fear
absolutely.
out of the way. Because let me tell you, when you get on a stage, you're able to command that stage. You're able to make a big impact. You're able to sell your products and services. You're able to create a following and a brand. And I mean, that's why I love to speak. And that's actually how I found Phylecia Jones. Like, I was looking for speaking gigs and a friend of mine uses your site and referred me. And I was like, awesome. But let me tell you guys, if you decide you want to sign up for I Find You Clothes or check it out, Phylecia, girl, you are the most detailed person I know. She has it bulleted. She has it in
Yep.
order. She tells you by date. She doesn't miss a beat. She is just like on it. So if you want someone that is so detailed blueprint, this is your girl. I mean, Navy scientist, researcher.
I know. Well, and I always tell people I Find You Clothes is basically how my brain was working when I found gigs for me.
Right.
And, because people are like, how did you come up with that? I was like, this is just how I work. And of course, over the years, I've had to like explain my brain to people. And that's always the hard part about business. Like, oh, I should explain how this works for some, because I find lovely people like you who get it the moment you get in there. There's a couple of people who are like, okay, let's walk through this. So, but it's been fun. And I will say, for those of you who are thinking about getting on stage, it is hands down one of the best things that I did for my business. You meet so many amazing people. Every gig leads to another gig or somebody
Yes.
that can get you closer to what you want. I've been able to get on 2 TEDx stages, and that which is a whole different experience in itself. But also, like being on stage and just meeting people who run events and who refer you. And it led to a television show. I was on a TV show for a year giving financial advice. And yeah, you just have, and then of course the people who come back like 2 years later, like, yeah, I remember you speaking, so I decided to work with you now. It's like, wow, 2 years later. Okay. Uh,
I know.
yeah. And so it's fun. If you make it fun, it is absolutely fun. You meet some amazing people, and it really does wonders for your business, because one of my coaches told me is your job is to wake up every day and ask yourself who needs to know your name today. And that's what you need
Yes.
to do when it comes to business. You have to make sure people know you. It's not about who you know, it's about if who knows you, because I'm sure, Tisha, you've had friends that you talk to every day, and like one day, like, so what is it that you do again? Our parents do us like that. you know? So
Intro video. That's why I created that,
yes.
Phylecia.
So
Let me
that's
show
why
you
you've got to
video.
make
Let me show
sure.
you a
Yes,
fun, catchy
I know.
video.
Send it to your parents. That's why people need to know your name, and that's why you have to ask yourself, who needs to know my name today, and wake up and make it happen. And like you said, getting on stage is one way to command you in front of a room of many instead of going one by one by one. And it's been just an amazing journey getting on stage, and it is so cool to see other people on stage too.
Oh my goodness. So yesterday, can I tell you like my little fun shameless plug? Because
Uh-oh.
you hit the nail on the head. When you can get on a stage, and Royce is here. I was just mentioning Royce to you too. I love that he always has this mantra of it's just the one, like focus on the one, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in a stage, it doesn't matter if there's 10 people, if there's 100 people, if there's 1,000 people, focus on talking to the one that really needs to hear your message. And that has just honestly, like you said, it has sustained me that yesterday I got booked for 3 speaking gigs, all back to back to back.
Yeah.
April 18th, I'm speaking in front of like 150 women about personal branding. And then the
Hmm.
next morning, I'm speaking actually at my church. I'm speaking and giving my God testimony. They asked me to be the closing speaker in the morning and in the evening for both services. And I'm like, holy moly. And then I fly to Austin the next day. So we're like, let's go. Let's get these things done. But yesterday, shout out to Sharon Tuttle. She invited me to speak to some high school students about LinkedIn, about networking. And I really only
Hmm.
had like 15 minutes. And today I just checked in with her and I said, how did it go? And she's like, every student put on the review that you were the best part about the whole 3 hours we spent.
Yay.
And I was like, yeah, dude, stop it. Like, awesome. Like, I just, it makes you smile when you can get up and you can share your expertise, your knowledge, your advice, your things like that. And people remember you
Hmm.
because of that. They
Yep.
remember you. So I actually just had a woman that saw me speak 4 years ago, Phylecia, and she introduced me to someone else and got me another speaking gig. So it doesn't matter the time frame if you made the
No.
impact on that one person.
It's just that one person that could be a client 4 years later, and you'd be surprised how many people watch your career. And I remember, oh gosh, one of these gigs I got in 2020 actually. And she said, I've been watching you for the last 4 years because the first time I saw you, you weren't ready yet. And I was like, oh, okay. You know,
You're
and
like,
then she came,
oh,
I'm like, okay. And then she came back with a gig, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So all you have to always do is bring your A game, talk to that one person, and you'd be surprised, like years later, all of that work does pay off. And for example, during the pandemic, I wasn't pitching any gigs. I needed to take a break, but all of the work I'd done the 3 and 4 years before that, I ended up having 24 speaking gigs in 2020,
gee,
and I was
in
like,
COVID.
I wasn't even trying. It was like, goodness, how did I do that? I was like, I was trying to get away from the camera, but it does pay off. It absolutely does pay off. So for those of you who are looking into speaking, hands down, at least give yourself a good 18 months and just go for it and have fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say this, if you get asked to speak on a stage, it's always good practice. It's always good practice for you.
Oh gosh,
I
yeah.
think we get in our own heads, Phylecia, if I can share this tip, we get in our heads that maybe the speech that we're giving on stage is not what we practiced and prepared. Nobody knows.
No.
Nobody knows that you forgot to
No.
say the one little piece that you practiced for days and days. Nobody cares and nobody knows. So it's new to them. They don't
Yeah.
have your script. So get over it and know that speaking is really a great opportunity for you to shine, to build your brand, to sustain yourself during crazy times, and to really just make a name. Like you said,
Yeah.
I love, tell me again, what did your coach say to you when you wake up in the morning?
You need
What did
to
she
ask
say?
she said, "You need to ask yourself who needs to know my name today." And she said,
Oh,
for a good year, that's all I needed to do. And that's kind of how I tackled like the second year of speaking. I just made list of this person needs to know me. So I'm going to go to this conference and make sure they know who I am. And I didn't necessarily, it wasn't trying to close people or anything. I just
right.
needed to make sure they knew who I am so that, things were to happen in the future. I need a favor or two. They saw me shine, and that was kind of how it worked.
I want to share a quick story. I know we're running short on time, Phylecia. So please let me know if you're like, we got to end this. Like my hubby needs the
We're good.
internet in the RV.
He's already got his own internet. He's good.
Okay. Because I could talk to you for hours, honestly. Um, but I love this, and I share this all the time. So I was at a speaking gig. I spoke the morning, and then this woman, Sasha, was speaking the next day, and I wanted to listen to her speech because she does a lot of speaking engagements. And I remember she was the right before lunch speaker, right
Ooh,
before
hard.
lunch.
That's a hard one
Hard
sometimes.
because everybody, oh, and we had Chick-fil-A. So people were like, oh, I
Ah,
got to get me some Chick-fil-A. I got to get out of here. And I'm like, go get the
cannot
chicken
compete with
sandwich.
Chick-fil-A.
You cannot compete with Chick-fil-A. And anyways, she's like, she's packing up her stuff. And I was just like, Chick-fil-A or Sasha? Chick-fil-A or Sasha? And I was like, you know what? Sasha. I chose Sasha. And I was the only person that stuck around for her. And I
Ooh,
was like, oh my gosh, you were amazing. You just did incredible. Like, I love that you do this. You're miles ahead of me in the speaker circuit. I would really love to just check in with you and ask you some questions. So we ended up taking it offline. I end up
mhm.
meeting her and we talk on just a Zoom call. She ends up coming to my social connect events that I shared, my anti-networking event. And and then she was actually asked to speak for the US Department of Agriculture, and it conflicted with another event that she was also asked to speak for. So who do you think
Yeah.
she recommended?
That's good. See, speaking is networking on steroids. I always say that.
It
It's
is.
just a way to leave a good impression if you're good.
Exactly. I remember the USDA because I hadn't really gotten to the paid speaking. I was
Mhm.
doing a little bit in that about that. And Sasha, I remember that call and she's like, "So this is the amount they're paying you. I know it's a little small, but what do you think?" I'm like in my mind just going, "Oh my
I
god."
know.
You're just like to speak to say something that I would always say anyway.
I
Okay.
know. It's like,
All
okay,
right.
I'll take
All
it.
right. All right. All right. I got this. I got this. I got this. All right. So we have a question that came through from Louie. Louie asks, what are some tools to use to track who you've pitched to? Great question.
Think we had a little bit of a delay there because I'm on my internet. But the
Oh,
question
yeah.
was some tools to track who you're pitching.
Hmm.
Basically, you can go as old school as spreadsheets.
Hmm.
You could definitely use spreadsheets, or you can use, I've used Trello. That's how I track, but I like to see things in a very interesting way. And some of those other programs like Asana and things like that. I mean, it really just comes down to you tracking it, period. And I
Hmm.
think a lot of people are looking for like easy ways, stick people's names in. And sometimes there is on the other side of speaking, it's not very sexy. It's just called work. It's not rocket science. It's just called work. So I would say whatever method you choose, just make sure you do track. There are some cool, and I can send this and I can attach this to the LinkedIn profile. But I did a blog post on 9 tools that you can use to track inside of your Google, inside of your Gmail box.
Mm.
So there's so many plugins there. I just can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I'll make sure you.
All right. Well, I think Felicia, we just lost you for a second. So hopefully you're coming back on. So Louis, great question. Yes, I think always be
Watch this.
tracking, always see. Felicia, are you back?
I
You're
am
back.
back.
This is the struggle of being traveling
Yeah,
and traveling and trying to do a live stream on the road,
yeah,
right? Like at least you're stationed, at least you're not
yeah,
moving, like at least
yeah.
your hubby's not
So
driving the RV right now.
hopefully I
But
was able. I don't know how much you heard.
no, we heard it. And you also said that you would attach like one of the send me the link to that
I'll
nine
definitely do
tips
that.
and I can share it with people who are tuning in. We can put it into
Yeah.
the feed so that you can grab that. But guys, if your goal is to meet more people, I love this and that's why I always am such a big proponent of speaking or doing things like this, live streaming, because you never know who's watching you. You never know where your next
No.
opportunity is coming from. And a lot of that is your impact and how you are going to impact the people that are watching and they're going to remember you. People remember you. And how do you stay memorable? Right. So, some great things. Okay. So, Felicia, I want to switch gears a little bit because
Uh-huh.
we talk about finding your genius zone and we talked about like it is so going to just hit you like a ton of bricks what you need to be doing.
Hmm.
And you just have to move into that. You just got to ease into it and just go, okay, this is what you want. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then just figure things out, right? Well, you have a travel blog called Keep Up with Mrs. Jones, and
Yeah.
that's something you're doing. You told me earlier that your hubby and you want to sail around the world, and I'm just so impressed by that. Because I'm like, I don't know anybody who wants to sail around the world and like just take it to the ocean. But tell us a little bit about your blog and how that perhaps was another genius zone that you tapped into, and travel, because travel is such a big part of your life. I know you've shared that with me multiple times.
Oh my gosh. So this is a very interesting story. So when I first started off in business, I wanted, I was working for the government. I was a computer scientist, and I just knew it was time to leave. And I went to like a coaching seminar, one of those things you go to. And I said my idea was to talk about couples, couples who want to travel, but how to manage your money. And I remember the coach told me, she said, that's not good enough and no one is interested in that. And lo and behold, I find all these communities about it later. But eventually, that kind of people started asking me about budgeting. And that took me down this route of talking about money and budgeting, which I love, but it really wasn't. It really wasn't the thing I wanted to do. I really wanted to talk about travel, but I still couldn't figure out how to bring myself into it because it's almost like how you go down a rabbit hole and you got yourself stuck and it's like, okay, how do I even get out of this hole?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was in a successful hole because everybody's like, "But you're so good at it." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's just like,
But yeah.
yeah."
Yep.
So to alleviate that, so I started doing a lot of speaking gigs at travel conferences. So that was like I kind of got my cake and a little bit of cake,
Yes.
and I ate it at the same time. But it was like I still want more. And then because we've always traveled, and that was like in the background of what we do. I love national parks. We do camping, international travel. And so when the pandemic hit, and like I'm sure you've heard this plenty of times on your show now, priorities started like shifting, and it was like, you know what? This has been coming for a while. So I took down the website, rebranded it, and in my secret life to kind of help me get through those hard business days, I took
Mm.
up photography. And I realized I went to my photography site where I just stored all my photos. I had 17,000 photos from all of these travels. And I said, you know what? We're gonna make something work with this. Maybe this will be my side hustle, be a photographer or something. But I had
Mhm.
too many beautiful photos, and I said it's time to start talking about this. And so this year, I said, you know, what? I'm gonna start the blog on the travel photo on the site and just share my photos, do my little side hustle, and pretend like I'm a photographer. And and that's kind of where it's going now. And it is so much fun. And then I wanted to document this journey of being able to like, all right, we're taking a 4,000 square foot house and putting it into an RV and then putting that into a boat. And then, trying to convince your parents that you're not insane. Um, and other people who are like, so you're just gonna be homeless? Like,
You're
it's
like,
it's
we're
been
not homeless. My
yeah, it's like
gosh.
we're good, and it's the most hilarious journey. Just kind of telling people about this because nobody gets it, and they're just like, "So you're doing what? And you're going where?" And yeah, so the stories around this is hilarious. So I wanted to document that, share the photos of the travel, and just kind of see where it goes. And now I can actually go back to my travel conferences that I spoke with and actually have a travel website.
I love that. I love that. And that's such a great way to, like you said, see the world and make it part of
Mhm.
your travel if you can find speaking engagements to do
Yeah.
that as well. Like you're like, oh yeah, I actually want to go to Boston. Oh, and there's a speaking gig there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like I
Yeah,
can
I'll
hit
go
two
to
birds
different
with one
countries.
stone. Yep. Different countries, different whatever. Like, so this is so cool. I love that you've been able to create the life that you want,
Yeah.
doing the things that you love. I'm sure working less, I know getting there was a
Yeah.
lot of work to get there, but isn't it so nice? Like when you're like, the fruits of my labor, they're finally starting to pay off and I don't have to do
It
all the stuff. It's done. It's
it's
built. It's ready.
it's
Yeah.
a weird feeling because you go down this one path and it always was fun, but it never felt like the path. And that's where it was always, I can't leave this, I can't leave the speaking, I can't leave the TV shows because I've been so good at it. Everybody says I'm good at it and I've been making money at it. But it always was in the back of my head. I wanted to go back to what I originally started with. I wanted to talk about travel. Like literally that's all I was like, money, some budgeting and travel. Let's just go do it. And
Right.
so it's funny how you have to go on this journey of, and being honest, I failed at business. The first business failed. Oh, you talked about somebody holding on to a baby, like please don't fail, you know. And eventually, it took traveling to create I Find You clothes. And then, trying to look at this life, like how would I make it work with all these things? And then the pandemic came and I was like, the pandemic is not something.
Mhm. Oh, Phylecia, I think you froze again. Okay, well, as she's coming back on and talking about the pandemic, I'll say
It
the
all got,
pandemic. Oh,
yeah.
there you are. You're back.
Yeah.
You're back.
Yeah. But I was just saying the pandemic, it just made everything come full circle and just like, okay, you said you wanted this. And then of course, like I'm like most people, I'm not getting any younger either. So it's just like let's figure this out. So it's come full circle and I'm back to the travel and being able to make money while doing it. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, it's so sweet. It's it makes me laugh. Like what you were saying when you were telling your friends, we're doing this, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
"What? Why? Like you have everything good now."
Yeah.
And so I believe I shared that with you too, Phylecia. And I know I was telling Royce this yesterday, and Louis, and even Bruce know. But like, we've got about 4 years until we're out. We sell the house. We move to Costa Rica. I get the chips and salsa gig at the local restaurant. Like, that is all I want. And people are like, "But you have everything." I'm like, exactly. I don't want all of this stuff.
So you're gonna
I
do chips and
want.
salsa. My dream was to just go to an island and I would make margaritas all day. So me and you, we got this.
I think we open up that restaurant wherever we
I know.
land. Come on over, people. We're just going to be doing this. Chips, salsa,
Yep.
margaritas. We got you. We got you.
And
Yeah.
that's the only drink I can do, and rum and coke. That's it. That's all you're getting here.
As long as you can do like mango or strawberry, I think we're
I can do
good.
that.
I think we're
I can
good.
do that.
Yeah. And it makes me laugh because people are like, "You would give this all up?" I'm like, "You guys don't know. I've been hustling and grinding and doing and doing and
Ooh.
doing. And I want a break." And it really
Mm.
helps that hubby is retiring in 4 years because I'm like, "Can I retire with you?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, let's do it."
That's
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for
You're
that."
not gonna it's gonna be a journey because I feel that because yeah, it's like you've been hustling and working so hard. And I mean, I hate to say it, it sounds kind of childish, but when you go back to high school and like hustling through college, and I went to grad school, worked for the Navy, and it's just like, and you starting this business, and it's just like, can I get at least 2 years of just just breathing? And then and it takes a mental shift to get there because once the path is like laid open, you start feeling guilty. It's like I should be doing more. I should be hustling more.
Yeah.
And just to admit to you, that's been the challenge in my head now because I see the collective FOMO like popping up in my head. And my co-host of I actually have a podcast too.
Oh
um,
my.
and he's out there speaking and doing these things. And I was like, I'm so proud of you. And I said, I'm going to be so there on the other side. He said, when I burn out, like, yes. I said, I love you. And I know it's coming. But, but part of me is just like, should I be doing more? And I see everybody doing the gigs and everything. And then, he's like, what did you do today? I was like, well, we got up and we walked for 2 hours on the beach. And then I came back to work. And I was like, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, you're right. Like I really do feel that because I've been on that side as well. The
Hmm.
burnout is inevitable. The burnout is inevitable.
Ooh.
Know that as a business owner, you're going to get to that point. You're like, am I doing what I should be doing? Is it time for me to put this down? Is it time for me to move on? And I'm getting so many of those same signs right now, Phylecia, that I am making a
Uh-oh.
lot of big changes this year. I'm kind of readjusting my focus. I want to do less. I want to
Yep.
focus. And so I love this topic. And I know we've kind of gone on so many different
Yeah.
tangents and I could talk to you for hours and so forth, but we've gone on this tangent of figure out what you love, figure out your genius zone, and tap
Hmm.
into it because that could be what sustains you. That could be what you work on that brings you joy. So you can do chip salsa margaritas. And by the way, we
Hmm.
have a lot of people who are like, I'm coming and I'm going to hang out the cabana bar with you.
Okay, cool. All we need is a guitarist and a singer, and we're good.
I think I found one. I think I've got that. My daughter, she sings and I want her to she plays the ukulele. So hey, that'll work.
My husband
Happy
plays the
compromise.
violin, so we can get him working too. Uh,
Yeah. Happy
so we
compromise.
can make this work. But yeah, it's one of those things when I will say you're probably feeling it too. And for everybody else, if you start getting these signs, it's not so much fight it, but just kind of sit down and go with it and then ask yourself, how can I readjust what I'm doing so that I can still make money? I can still enjoy what I'm doing, but maybe not so much.
Mhm.
And it does take a while. So this where we are right now, this was something that's been working on for 5 years. And I remember when my husband threw down the gauntlet when we got the RV, he was like, "We're gonna leave here for 6 months." I'm like, okay, how am I going to do a TV show? Am I flying in? And so it's been like percolating in the background of like, okay, how do I still run a business with and life? And sometimes it's
Mhm. I get it. Well, as
a
Felicia's getting
journey.
back on. Oh, there, Felicia, there's
Yeah.
always that little delay and then you come back.
Yeah.
So
I
I
know.
always
We
start
got
saying, Felicia's coming back. And then you're like, I'm back.
I know, we're back. But yeah, the journey is an amazing journey, and if you're feeling those signs, don't fight them too hard. I mean, fight them because that's what we do, but that's just a sign to sit down and think of like, how can I do this? Still make
Yeah.
money, still enjoy life, but go enjoy that life part. And I think that's the one thing we sometimes miss when we're first starting a business is that life part. You know, we all say we want that work-life balance, and then when we get there, it's just like, is this what they were talking about? Because this is kind of cool.
Yeah, when you get there, right? Okay,
Yeah.
well, I want to bring it home. I want to give you even, oh, so sweet. Mr. Groovy saying she is powerful. This has been
Oh.
such an enlightening conversation. You're such a joy, Felicia. I'm going to have you
Oh,
back on. Maybe you'll be on your sailboat next time I interview you.
oh, that'd be fun.
We'll have all sorts of internet stuff going on then.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, it might be better while we're on the sailboat. No trees out there.
No trees, no trees. All right. Well, tell us, how do people find you? What's coming up for you on the horizon? And give yourself a little shameless plug as we
No,
roll on
shameless
out of
plug.
here.
So for those of you who are interested in speaking, you can go check me out at I Find You Close. Everything, the blog, all kinds of tips from getting on TEDx stages, setting your rates, how to get on stage. You can go check it out at ifindyouclose.com. And I always tell people, you know, you can find me on the internet. So if you got questions, just slide into my DMs. It may take me a moment because I might be walking on the beach, but I will respond back to you. If you want to follow just the daily journey, you can go to Keep Up with Mrs. Jones. And it's just keepupwithmrsjones.com. And it's just all kinds of pretty photos and my little wanderings about life and the alien pod that I found on the beach a couple of weeks ago.
Mm.
So those types of things, you know. So that's the travel journey. And yeah, I think I'm about to put up photos for Panama City Beach. So yeah, so those are the places you can find me, but definitely this has been so much fun, and I'm pretty certain we could talk. So that's why we probably should plan to have our little bar in
Mm.
Costa Rica. All I'm doing is margaritas. You can do chips and salsa. I'm ready for it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. 2027 is my date. We will definitely be done with this house, everything. Like that's the
I
plan
know.
is moving out there 2027. I'm so, so stoked. Our daughter will be 15 and I'm like, you can't drive yet. You can't go anywhere. So you're still stuck with us. You have no choice. You
She'll
have
have
no
fun.
choice.
She'll have fun.
I know. I know. Okay, well, let me check the comments and then we're gonna say goodbye to everybody.
Oh,
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Groovy. No, I get seasick. Okay. Well, we have plans for that.
yes, yes.
Anyway. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, whether you were tuning in live or watching the replay. Some really, really great stuff and insight from Phylecia Jones. She's the founder of I Find You Clothes. And yeah, Royce, living the dream. Yeah, that's what we're all striving for, living the dream. So thank you guys again. I hope you have a fantastic President's Day weekend. I am off to run the Tough Mudder tomorrow. Talk about
Ooh,
adventure. I'm getting dirty with the hubby, and we are like running and jumping in ice cold mud. So that is on the agenda for the weekend. I hope you guys all have a fun one, and I will see you back next week. We've got Russ Hedge with Russ Hedge Coaching and Consulting, and he's talking about my two favorite things. You guys know it: community and connection. So make sure you tune in live to Tisha Talks Live next Friday, 10:45. All right, we'll see you guys. Bye.